Or they try to.
Welcome to this segment of the Pittsburgh Business Virgin. My name is Brad Hillbert, president of Three Rivers Wealth Management Group and host of the show. I'm here with my steadfast partner, Nick Cortazzo.
Hungry partner now.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this might be my favorite interview because the fat kid's got food in front of him.
It's sitting next to Brad, this is definitely the best smelling set we have had.
Yeah,
so far.
absolutely.
Oh my God,
but let's bring in our very special guest, Adrienne Brown of Sassy Gourmet. Adrienne, thank you for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
And I got to tell you, thank you for bringing all this food because this is awesome. This is awesome.
Adrienne, as we get started here, give our viewers a little bit of background around how you got started with the sauces and the business, and then kind of how you taken that thinking about it to actually doing it.
Okay, well, I've been making the sauce for 15 years for my family. And it was something that I just did, all the time, just threw some things
And it's a barbecue
together.
sauce,
It's a barbecue
right?
and dipping sauce.
And dipping sauce,
yes.
Okay.
And so about in 2009, a friend of mine came over, and I was telling him about my sauce, and he tried it. And he was like, why isn't this on the shelves? I was like, I don't know. Why isn't it? And he was like, it's really good. You should look into it. So what I did was I made another batch and started letting people taste it. And he was like, where can I buy this? And every time someone tastes it, they want to know where they can buy it. So I figured, well, if they want to buy it, they can buy it from me.
You're onto something. So
right. So I figured I'm doing something, and it was so different from...
People are responding.
Right, from the other business I had, which I had, 2 stores in Connecticut, sewing studios, because I'm a seamstress and designer by trade. And so, to do this, it was totally... a surprise. So we went and I, started out, and then I had to look at, labeling and things like that. So it took a whole lot more than a typical business, because as I was talking and trying to figure out what it was, how I was going to do it, I had to, look into different type of bottles, and it's just a whole gamut of things that you have to go through to make sure it looks right. It tastes good. And then a friend of mine who did such an awesome job on my labels, Ellis Echeverria, he said to me, the outside need to look just as good, if not better, than the inside.
Because that's one of the ways it gets off the shelf, I imagine.
Exactly.
You need to kind of jump off, and what separates it and that standpoint.
And people don't realize how complicated the supermarket business is.
Oh, yes.
About placement and
Shelf
where
space.
on if you're on the bottom, and what's the difference between what you got to pay to get up at eye level and all that other good stuff. It's a crazy business.
Exactly, because if you're on the bottom row, normally you don't get bought as often.
Yeah.
So you need to be at eye level. Mm-hmm. And that shelf space is very prime, very expensive to be in. Or if you're blessed and they like you a lot, they'll just put it there. And I've been blessed to be able to have it.
Awesome. So how long have we been doing Sassy now?
I've been doing it. It'll be 2 years in August.
Awesome. And talk a little bit about, the last sort of when you think about the last 2 years, what were some of the steps that you needed to take? I mean, besides bottling and the labeling, which I think is obviously huge, but then you're making food that people are consuming. So I'm guessing there's some rules and regs around that as well.
Right, there are rules and regulations. And even before I got to that point, when I made the sauce before, it was all by taste. So now I had to measure everything out to get it just right. And
quality
then,
control.
Right, so you
and
can
make it a
duplicate
repeatable
it.
process.
Right, so you can duplicate it. And so once I did that, and then you go to the state to find out, what the criteria are. And one of the things, by being a small business, I don't have to put the nutritional facts on the back until up to 50,000 units, which saves me some money. But you have to go through testing, so it has to go through a pH test and things like that, shelf life test. Once you do that, you have to have it in a commercial kitchen in Connecticut. In Pennsylvania, you can actually do it out of your home, but your home has to be licensed. Mm-hmm. In order to do that, whatever city you're living in has to okay it first. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to do zoning changes and things like that. You have to get liability insurance.
But there's still state board health and everything else that has to come in and do their
is there any
inspections.
patenting requirement? I mean, is there like the ingredients? Do they?
No, because you can't patent a food item.
Recipe or-
You can't patent a
But
recipe.
you try to get that recipe out of Adrienne. Because I was like, Adrienne, so what do you put in this when I met her?
She could tell you, but then she'd have to kill you.
Yeah,
That's
she's
how
like,
kind of how it works.
and that's something I'm not going to tell you. So, awesome. So what's really interesting, and hopefully, you know, and maybe Bud will get a close in on this later, but there's 4 different sauces. So it's not just one sauce.
4 levels of heat.
4
Not just
levels of heat. So
sauce,
take us
4
take us
heat
through
levels.
the 4 levels of heat in your brochure.
Okay. In the 4 levels of heat, you have serene, which comes first. And serene is my original, is what I started out with. And anyone can eat that. It's not hot at all. It's a little peppery, but it's not too much where most people can't, you know, the palate can take it. Then you move up to sultry. And sultry is my version of mild. I say my version of mild because I like spicy food. So
I love spicy food.
and then, so you feel the heat in the beginning of it, but it's not too bad. And then you move into sizzling, which is spicy. Now, a lot of people will taste sizzling and they said, oh, sultry was, you know, harder. But the heat from sizzling comes on after. So then you feel the heat and go, oh, it is hotter. And then Sassy. Sassy's the hottest. And the reason why I chose Sassy is because that's also the name of the business.
Yeah,
So, of course,
absolutely.
that would be the hottest one.
I don't think I can touch Sassy.
And that
I think I'm
one-
a sultry guy.
That one is hot in the beginning, but not so hot that you can't enjoy your
Yeah.
food or taste the food or the sauce itself.
Or you're over there eating Wonder Bread trying to get the...
Exactly,
yeah.
or your mouth is on fire. It's not like that.
Now, last question? Then we're gonna come back and maybe go
Maybe
through
this
a little.
pod will be a little bit shorter when we come back.
Maybe we come back and my shirt's a mess. But did you start with just one sauce and work up to 4 over the last 2 years, or did you start with 4?
I started with one sauce, and my kids liked the serene, but I would always take someone aside and make it a little harder for myself.
Yeah.
And so then I had decided, well, if I did that for me, then
Then there's
people,
probably some other people
there's
doing
some
it
other
as well.
people who would like it that way. So when I did my test market and talked to people about it, you know, what would they like? I came up with the 4. 4 was more a common, you know,
Sure.
what
All
they
right.
like the best.
We're gonna come back and we're gonna eat some of this stuff
Yes.
as we talk, because that was one of the
And
rules.
it's 5 o'clock.
That was the
It's
rule.
5
yes.
o'clock.
Time for his
And you're
feeding.
going to tell us how you're going to be talking to people from the White House.
Yes.
I think that's going to be kind of cool to hear a little bit more about that. Come right back with Adrienne Brown of Sassy Gourmet. And by the way, if you want to check out our website, it's at the bottom of the page, but acesassygourmet.com.
Yes.
Awesome stuff. Be back with you.